It's been fascinating to see, hasn't it? But in terms of the European project, what have we learnt overnight?
Well, it's interesting because we have learned not only that eventually, and by muddling through, we can come to an agreement, but there's a reminder that politics are local. And you have to think that that was a tightrope. And of course, as Richard Quest was saying, you would have the nice, comforting words at the end in terms of the Grexit not being a possibility, but it was a possibility, a very real possibility. And the tightrope is that you've got other parliaments and other governments, including the Finnish government that you may recall, pretty much threatened to blow that up. And perhaps it hasn't been blown up because of some little-known rules of the ESM that allow them not to have a veto. So we have learned that the structure may work, but it's been really, really difficult. And we didn't know up until pretty much the middle of the night that we were heading towards a solution. We did come perilously close to that being off the rails.
Which is why you get this messaging, don't you, from Merkel and Hollande, which is actually not so much about Greece, but much more about Europe and how effectively they kept it together.
There's another reason for that. And the other reason is that whether we like it or not, politics are still local. And this will continue being one of the main challenges of Europe. You have to remember that in addition to the Greek parliament, and Greeks don't have much choice, because if they don't vote for now, it's not that they are considering two alternatives, which is stay in the euro or leave the euro. The big problem and the folly pretty much of the Greek government is that the alternative was not prepared. So the Grexit would not simply have meant, oh, well, we don't have the euro, we're going to have another currency. No, it would have meant that we have no way of making the economy and society stick together. So for Greeks, it was very difficult. But remember that for the other parliaments who are thinking about that and thinking about what the population reacts to, they need to find a way of placating them. And a lot of the discussions that have happened, a lot of the push, the aggressive push of Germany that has created a lot of backlash already in the Twitter sphere. This is a coup was the key hashtag yesterday night. But they had to do that politically because there is a lot of skepticism in the German population or in the Finnish population or in the Baltics population. And for the parliaments to pass that, they need to show that they have been stern. So there is a lot of balancing the politics, not only in one country, but between different countries.
Alexis Tsipras heading off there to Athens. He's got to get this through Parliament, hasn't he? This is the next the stage. Got to get it through on Wednesday. You know, a lot of these elements of this agreement have been completely dismissed by members of Parliament in Greece.
Not only dismissed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is he going to get it through?
I think that things now are very different. If you think about what has happened in Greece, we have the most expensive on-the-job training that has happened in world history. The Greek economy that was growing about 2.5% has nosedived between the elections and today, and especially over the last week because of the banks not working. And what we are now having is a memorandum that is structurally more tough than the one that they thought that they would be rejecting, and they are now accepting it. Why are they accepting it? I think that it has finally dawned on them that the alternative is far bleaker and that they would not be able to manage it. It is as simple as that. Now, this practically and politically is an absolute disaster for the people who have been told in no uncertain words than barring the law that was passed for humanitarian aid, they need to reverse on everything they had agreed, and they pretty much need to take the platform on which they were elected, which is no more memorandum, and reverse it. We're going to have a much longer program, and this will be with us for not only a longer time, but will require deeper changes. I suspect, though, that they will pass it. And that is the only good news in terms of that not being as divisive. One of the problems we had in Greece, one of the follies in terms of the referendum, is that it created the division of the pro-memorandum and against memorandum people. And now this government says, you know what, we need it. I suspect that it is going to pass, but I also suspect there will be the hardliners who are going to be even more vocal. So between now and Wednesday, expect political changes in Greece. I have been saying for a while that I do not expect that this is the government that will really sign that into law. I still maintain that. I still think that we're going to see important political changes in Greece. The situation has entirely changed. Within the last 2 to 3 days, the political landscape has been transformed. The rhetoric has been turned on its head pretty much entirely.